Our next speaker, we've got Cara Bendon, who is a branding consultant. She's in sunny Cardiff right now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's quite right. Yeah.
Great. How are you today?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, I've been enjoying hearing the other the traders speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the branding?
Yeah, really nice, and it was. I really agreed. I was pretty much nodding along when Miriam was sort of saying about colour and the importance of using colour wisely and just having an identity that is clear, can't be confused with other businesses, standing out in the marketplace. Yeah, and just the fact that she went from, having a mate write the boards to then, realising how to invest properly in making everything look better, the brand and the packaging and the food presentation was definitely very aligned with the tips I would give a food trader. So it was really cool to hear.
Good. And those are all things that you can focus on and refine, even if you can't go outside right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So thanks so much to Curb for inviting me to be part of this. So I have given a talk for Curb before on street food branding, but obviously we pivoted it a little bit for now. And actually, instead, we're just focusing on 3 things that you can do while you're not trading in this sort of forced downtime. Because like all of the Curb gang are saying, there is a lot of opportunity out there. And after this, people are going to go mad for wanting to go out and eat and have these social experiences again. So actually, there's quite a lot of stuff that when you're busy trading and you're, driving from market to market based on, different schedule, you just don't really have the time to do these things. So actually, it's quite a good opportunity. So I'll just talk you through my 3 things now. I'm not particularly experienced with live, so what I'll do is if the guys just let me know if there's an important question, I'll just answer those probably at the end. But do ask me.
Yeah, well, if there's any questions, I'll let you know.
Awesome, thanks. It's like having my own team. It's great. Okay, so basically, the 3 things that I think would be really, really good that I would advise all street food traders or those of you who are thinking of setting up a food stall is to, sorry, I've got my email coming up. So first of all, I would say before you go any further with your business, stop and question whether the name you've given your business is the strongest name that you could give it. The reason I decided to put this in is because everything that you do from here on in, you're building up, in terms of brand, you're building up a reputation and awareness, and it all needs to come from a strong foundation. And so I think that, having a name that is strong is an essential, really. So a good name, I think, should be catchy, if possible. It should be clear. So I'll come back to clear in a minute. But it should be catchy and easy to remember are probably the most important, because in terms of clear, you can use, obviously, in terms of brand names, non-food related, we've got Skype, we've got Google, we've got all these different kind of brand names that are made up, but they've had to work very, very hard to create awareness of what their product is. So actually, and especially when it comes to food businesses and food markets, people don't want to be confused because there's so many options available. They want to know if it's Indian street food or if it's vegan Mexican or, if it's poke bowls or burgers. They just want to know. So I think that actually when it comes to food businesses, whether you spell out exactly the product you do or whether you just go for something that basically indicates the style of cuisine, I would recommend the latter. But I think it's important that you give people a clear signal what kind of food they can expect from the name, the color, the vibe of your stall.
Yeah, that's definitely important. Like we talk to people a lot about that, because people, especially at our lunch markets, because people have a very small amount of time, and there's still fun and creative ways that you can say what you're doing, but ultimately it has to be clear. Like I've seen people make a decision from like 50, 20, 30, 40 meters away because they can see something stand out.
So true. So this is it. So when it comes to creating your van, your food truck, whatever it is, it actually, I remember that when I was doing this talk before, I was really, really drawn to Club Mexicano, and what they do, especially for festivals, is they just put like vegan, I think they put vegan tacos or vegan Mexican food, like really, really large above their stall. It doesn't even, like, they have their brand name throughout their stall, but what they put in neon lights that can be seen, like, as you say, 50 meters, 100, 200 meters away, is actually their food type. So you know instantly what it is. But obviously their name, Club Mexicano, it kind of Mexicana, sorry, it gives you an indication. So it doesn't have to be super literal, but I think that if you make it there's a temptation to make it quite in-jokey or punny, and that's great, but it's got to translate to other people. So it can't just be something that you've always thought was cool, or a nickname people gave you, because that just doesn't translate, even though it's sweet as a story. So
street food traders love puns. Like,
I know. I love a pun. There's nothing wrong with a pun, but I think you've just got to make sure people get it. So yeah, basically one of the resources I was going to suggest at this time is actually do a bit of market research. And so you can do things online with, like, SurveyMonkey, or you can create a type form and you can send it out to people. There's loads of Facebook groups. There's loads of, places like that you can share your surveys. But also, if you have got a certain target market in mind, you can literally just pay, for that kind of respondent to answer your surveys online.
Or if you're on a Zoom call with like 20 people, your friends, and just ask people's feedback.
Well, here's the thing. I would recommend a little bit of distance from it, because your friends are going to tell you they love it and you're great and it's amazing and you're going to be a millionaire. So, because that's what friends are for. They're supposed to big you up. So I think, that's why a little bit of distance is good. Just if you're asking people about the name, try not to lead them. So just instead, maybe present a name to them and say, what would you think this business is? Or what would you think this is? Rather than what do you think of this, or adding any intonation like, oh, I've been thinking about a name and I've come up with this. I really like it. What do you guys think? Because that's just very leading. So there's lots of resources online about market research. Like you say, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be doing like, you can have 5 people, but just trying to ask people without leading them is quite interesting. Because I had somebody, one of my friends suggested a name for something she was looking at, and she wanted to call it something, and I won't disclose what it is because it's a startup, but straight away I could see why she basically put 2 words together, but it sounded like something else, and I felt like I had to be the one to tell her that straight away. You'll just waste time and money. And so even if it's a bit heartbreaking to have one of your, like, a name you think is awesome, people tell you it makes them think of something else, don't be precious, because you'll just waste time and energy trying to get people to understand what your business is if it's not clear.
100%.
So the last point on that is basically make sure your domain is available and all the social media handles, or all the social media handles you intend on using. That doesn't mean you have to have a clean sweep of everything: YouTube, Tumblr, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everything. Just the ones that are going to be big for you. So I would definitely say you need your Instagram and probably your Twitter. But use a service. So there's a website called namevine.com, and there you can search for domain availability, but it will also tell you if it's available on social media. And I really recommend trying to get the name you choose without having to put like official or underscore or anything like that in front or behind it, or having to shorten any letters, because all of those things make it seem less consistent, and consistency is very important in terms of creating an image of a confident trader, trustworthy, professional. So I think that's enough on naming. But if you do need to know anything more about naming, I've got a free guide on my website. So if you go to carabendon.com/blog, there's loads of resources there, but I've just highlighted the one there, which is how to name your business. And that exact process that I use on there, I think there's a free PDF download as well, but that is the exact process that I use with clients in brainstorms. So you may find yourself having to throw a lot of names out there before you find the one, but this is perfect time for it. So no excuses. All right. So my second point is to really get on social media. And, this may just sound like one of those typical things that a marketer will say and you just don't really have time for, or you feel like, well, you can't really promote, usually you do social media to talk about where you're going to be this week, what's new on the menu, share some photos of food. But the truth is there's actually a huge opportunity here because people are on their phones more than ever, and you've got to try and bridge the gap and not be forgotten, essentially. So if you keep showing up in inventive ways, then actually you're going to maintain that audience loyalty or begin to get it, and that's really important, especially if, say, this breaks up and we're able to start trading again in the summer or the autumn or whenever it is. You're laying the foundations now.
Yeah. We worked our last workshop. We had Iche, who did a really good workshop, and they have a place in Shoreditch. And before they even started trading, they had started doing vegan recipes on their Instagram.
Amazing.
And there was someone at their stall at 8:30, even before they'd set up. So they'd been putting the groundwork for like a month, 2 months, 3 months before they first ever traded. And it showed them like, oh, if we do this regularly and we do it in our way, in our own style, like there is an audience for us. There are people who connect with us.
Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that brilliant? And this is the thing. This is why it's good to have your own kind of audience, because when you're at a market, then there's footfall. But actually having your own audience is what will help you in terms of like if people are going to buy anything from you over the next few months. So if they're going to buy like takeaway or delivery or recipe packs or anything that you are offering at the moment, then actually it's going to be based on them knowing, liking and trusting you, or like starting to get to know your content. Anybody, for me personally, it's like, what is it, week 3 of kind of working from home and lockdown, and like anybody who brings something interesting to my day, there's somebody whose content I'm going to instantly like and save and maybe share. Yeah. So actually you've got this possibility for huge amounts of engagement with your content, whereas normally everyone's actually pretty busy. So, I mean, I don't mean anything. I mean, the useful stuff. But Instagram is the #1 social media for street food in general. And in my longer workshop I deliver, I give some tips on how to make, really good, how to make your Instagram really good. So how to take better photos and things like that. I think there is an opportunity to go online, search, best at home food photography or DIY food photography and look at those tutorials. But even if you're able to make one of your dishes at home and photograph it there, brilliant. But actually, people can't get all the ingredients for things at the moment. So even just sharing the situation is good. So I'll bring you my tips for the kind of content I think works really well. So in a crisis, basically, these are the kind of most important points that I think will work. They work for most businesses at the moment, but can definitely work really well for street food. So first of all, definitely acknowledge the situation. I know that sounds really obvious, but sometimes people just want to seem positive online, and so they might just post other things. It will just look like you're, like you don't know what's going on in the world, or you don't care, and either of those things aren't good associations. So you can acknowledge it, but you can acknowledge it in things like, I know we're all indoors at the moment. You try not to use language too much like stuck indoors, can't get, dying for this or whatever, just because, you're gonna, it's great to build FOMO, but people are, are stuck indoors. So, but acknowledge the situation. And then this is where you can make your relatable content. So if it's within your brand tone of voice to be quite humorous, there's so many good memes coming out at the moment about, lockdown and quarantine and stuff like that. And loads of them relate to food, the fact that we're constantly working from our kitchen tables and all that. Just, I'd suggest definitely trying to make your own, have a bit of fun with it. But if your brand isn't super jokey or that seems a bit off brand, then just share, like, you can share things like recipes or tips for making your, pimping your lunch a bit or whatever. you can also share the behind the scenes. So do share the impact it's having on your business, because people are interested in hearing these stories. So, you know, you can put on there, you know, we had some events cancelled, that's fine. But I would encourage you, if possible, to try and like tell the story a bit. So you can say, right now, you know, we have 1,000 frozen baps for an event we're supposed to do next week. Any ideas what we should do with them? Or, you know, or you can, you know, it can be you know, literally sharing your, you know, your routine now that you're at home. It doesn't all necessarily have to be about food, because you're building yourself as a personal brand that they will kind of be drawn to. And so the next two tips are pretty intertwined. I'd say use video, show your face, show who it is behind the brand, and just keep communicating. So with video as well, you could also do some really nice things like recipes, or like, you know, yes, lineup of ingredients. You know, you can show, and you can use old video if you've got old things. You know, you can do throwbacks and stuff like that. But it would be really sad to see one post saying, sorry, we're closed, we won't be at the markets in March, and then not see anything until like July.
This is an opportunity to show all the layers of you and your brand. You know, it's not just your food. Like, there's so much more that your food represents, and now is an opportunity to really think about what that is, and or just figure out, like, find out what it is rather than know. You know.
Yeah, that's totally cool too. Exactly. You could be kind of, you know, if you haven't quite created a brand yet, you could be doing this on your own Instagram, and therefore people are going to be really warmed up to it on your own personal network by the time you launch a brand. But yeah, exactly. So sorry, I had a good thought there, but it's gone clean from my mind. But yeah, I think it is. It's a good opportunity to, as you say, show the layers. Oh, that's what I was going to say. If you do have a brand name, you can always introduce yourself. So a really good branding tip is basically like, act like you're already there. So if you want to be this certain success model, you want to be, you know, this trader, then instead of sort of saying, oh, you know, my name's Cara and I'm trying to set up blah, 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 you can say, hi, it's Cara from, and whatever the brand name is. So you can say, hi, it's Cara from the Gourmet Salads Kitchen. Terrible name. I just didn't know what to think. But, you know, introduce yourself that way. You're further reinforcing both you as part of the brand, which and the brand name. And the idea of introducing you as part of the brand is very powerful, especially in a time where we're only having digital communications, because people buy from people. So yeah, and then the third point is to sort out your branding. So I think definitely in the first instance, I know that I solely work with startups and solo entrepreneurs. So I know that budget is like the biggest barrier to getting branding done properly at the beginning. And I know a lot of people just go out with a free, you know, logo generator type website creation to begin with, or get a mate to do it. But without any sort of bias, it's so worthwhile sorting your branding out, because it's fine. You can totally do that at the beginning, but you know that you're going to be playing small. Like, that's fine if you're just testing the water with your cuisine, your setup, you're not 100% if you want to do this as a lifestyle or whatever. But I think that you reach a limitation within that, and you're going to have to step up at some point. So basically, I've created, so let's have a look. So yeah, sorry, branding usually takes a few weeks to get right. So this is a good time. So I did work with a food trader before, and actually it was impossible to get sign-offs for things because weekends are work, weekdays are work. So actually this is a really good time that you can maybe get it done, do it really well, and not feel like you're pumping money into something, but you're having to check emails on the fly. So that's a nice benefit. So yeah, to give you guys an idea, it depends on the designer you work with. But branding can take anywhere between sort of 3-4 weeks and 2-3 months, depending on the process you're going for. So, and I know that always stuns people because people seem to think it'll probably just take like a day to create a logo. But the thing is, and you know, you can find loads more resources for this on my website, but branding is so much more than just a logo. When you get your branding done properly, that person will consider your van, your outfits, whether you wear a uniform, a t-shirt, an apron, your social media, your packaging, your food type, your photography. It's everything. It's the image that you want to project from everything. So first of all, I've created a free checklist on my website. So if you go to carabendon.com/free checklist, so by doing this, you will sign up to my newsletter. Full disclosure, I email once a fortnight. It's always relating to branding. You can unsubscribe anytime, but you will get sent this PDF, and it's literally a checklist. So you can go through and say if you've got these things already, like whether you've got your social media handles, whether you've got a brand name, whether you've got brand colors, brand fonts, etc. And at the end, it will give you a bit of a rough score and some guidance what you need to do next. And following that, there's a link that goes through to my website with a load of resources. So when you find out your score, it will tell you what you need to do next. And then on my website, there's loads of tips to do that.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, no, that's okay. So yeah, because it's I mean, it is a bit of a quick snapshot. It's not, you know, it's not a full audit. If you want a one-to-one, like it's best to, you know, speak to somebody like me, or, you know, whatever. But like, it is a helpful tool because, you know, on the converse side, people read about branding and they get intimidated by it and they think it's really complicated and that they haven't done it right. And the opposite's true. It's really simple. It just needs to be done, you know, properly. So actually, you might be doing a lot more than you think. So so if it does come out, so basically here, so this is a kind of good demonstration of the power of branding. So yeah, I can't see all the comments, but yeah, essentially these guys both sell hot dogs, but on one side, you know, it doesn't, like on the left hand side with the sausage burger, the two different price things, the barbecue party, the you know, clip arts and style graphics, you know, it looks really unprofessional. And whereas, you know, OMD, oh my dog, it looks really, really clean and neat, and it looks professional. So I'm assuming most of you guys would probably rather eat from oh my dog based on this.
It's great branding, you know, and it's clear and it communicates what it is, and it's yeah, it's fun and whimsical at the same time.
Totally agree. And it's like, it's not overwhelming. It doesn't have to be really complicated, the branding, you know, and I could have chosen so many in this instance, but I wanted two stores that both offered similar cuisine. And yeah, it's I think the fact that, I mean, this is a pun, but they've done it very well. So yeah, but they've literally spelled out hot dogs and got an image of a hot dog in case there was confusion. So and then yeah, so Rice Guys again, so they've got it on their cutlery, they've got it on their truck, their big van, which is beautiful, their Instagram, and even just the highlights. And this was an interesting one because aesthetically it's really different from a lot of the street foods style branding, but it really is within their aesthetic, and they're a very good example because they're very consistent with their brand colors, and they fully understand that branding isn't just having a logo and plonking it on something. Again, I really like Tucker, and the reason I included this is Tucker's is pretty simple, to be honest. But first of all, on the side of the truck, they've got their social handle, and they've just got one, because there's nothing worse than it's like, find us on Facebook and it's Tucker Burger Official. Find us on Twitter and it's actually. So it's just one. They're Tucker Burger wherever they are. They've got the honk if you want a burger, which is something I think they put on the back of the van. It just shows a bit of continued. So that's branding because it's their tone of voice and it's a humor that obviously works with their brand. And then they've even got it on the greaseproof paper for packaging. And it just, the whole thing looks like a business of a far bigger scale. And when you go out as a small business and you project that level of sort of confidence and success that you can do with effective branding, then you attract success because you look established and credible and popular. And so that's kind of the power of branding.
Yeah.
Yes, like I see the comment there. Definitely. So yeah, what else have I got? So right, yeah. So basically, it's a good time because at the moment, you know, lots of industries are being hit hard, and the creative industry is probably it's one of the worst hits. So I know so many graphic designers, all the graphic designers I work with. So I work with 6 different graphic designers at different points, and they all have, like, you know, checked in with me the last week to see if there's any work. So this is a good opportunity because actually, you know, people, they may like, so this is a fine point. You should absolutely pay graphic designers the right amount because it's, you know, it's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and you wouldn't want somebody to not pay you for your service. You know, it's about kind of being respectful to all freelancers, but equally, if you're honest about what your budget is, so, you know, don't try and like pull the wool over anybody's eyes and get like you know, a steal, because that's not really kind to anyone, and you probably won't get the best work for it. But if you're honest about what your true budget is, now is in any time, if you're honest about what your true budget is, you'll find quite a lot of designers, especially if you're flexible on things like timing or something like that, would be happy to work for slightly under their normal rate as long as you know, really are upfront about your budget and explain your vision. But I think especially at the moment, it's a great time. Like, people would really love to be doing a little bit of branding work for a new business.
Yeah, and it's about starting a relationship, you know, and even if that's just starting with a menu rather than the entire thing, you know, that's still something you might be able to afford, and, you know, work into other things from there.
Yeah, totally. Like, having a good relationship with a designer is a really good idea because you're going to keep needing things as you go on. Like, yeah, you can even start with a social media graphic. It is a good idea to start with a brand, because so you've got an idea of your color palette and fonts and things like that, and the brand identity. But this is a great time because it is a partnership, so you can work really partnership with them.
So we have 2 more minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'm so sorry.
No, it's great. People are loving it, so it's great.
Great. So I've also got a blog on my website. So again, carabendon.com/blog. And I've got a piece on there about how to find a good designer as well. I may update these as well during the week if I get time, because these are resources that are really handy that I'm sending out to a lot of people at the moment. So, all right, that's me. That's it. So
thank you so much, Cara. Those, like, people are loving those insights.
Awesome. That's great. I haven't seen the comments, but I wish I'll have a catch up on them now.
Yeah, but one of the questions someone asked, they said, how much should a startup be prepared to pay for branding? Which I think is like, how long is a piece of string? But also,
Right. So, I mean, I think that, oh God, this is so difficult because it depends exactly what you're looking for as part of that. Essentially, it usually falls between 1,000 and 5,000 to get branding done properly. But that might sound intimidating right now, and you can break it down. So usually, design usually comes in at about £250 a day. So essentially you are buying a huge amount of time for that. It's not, you know, just that we mark up a huge amount. It is based on time. But I'd say if you were able, so for that reason, I'd say a minimum of probably about £500, because then, I mean, at the moment, probably a designer most mid-level designers will charge out about £300 a day. There are cheaper, but it really is something about, there really is truth in, like, you get what you pay for. So just don't go for the cheapest. Better that you find the right person and you see if they're happy to go, if you've got only 400 or 300 or whatever, better that you have a chat with that person and see what they can do than just go and find somebody that fits within that budget.
And I think this comes back to, and it's a nice way to end and segue to our next speaker, because it comes back to people and relationships, and also to hustle and entrepreneurialism and using the connections that you have to get what you need for your business. So, you know, maybe just give that person 100 free meals. Who knows?
Well, that was one thing I was just going to say. Just don't not pay them, because we get shafted so much as graphic designers.
You always, you definitely need to pay people. Like even if it's like less than what, you know, like right now you might be thinking like, there are lots more graphic designers and a lot of them are freelance and they're less, but you can still pay people for what you can afford. You know, it's a great time to start a relationship with a good designer.
Yeah, so true. And I think, I think most of the designers I know who are freelance are doing, you know, that we really care about helping businesses. So we'd actually rather help you do the whole thing rather than just give a small amount of something, because we know what you're going to need. We know you're going to need the whole branding. But if you can, I mean, that can be spaced out over 3 or 4 months if you know, based on your cash flow or, you know, whatever it may be. So, a couple of people asking how to get hold of me. Just come via my website, or I'm on Instagram, or come via Curb, because they can pass you my details as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I hope that the rest of it is really helpful, like, you know, the bits that I saw, and that everyone gets a lot out of it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cara.
All right.